up for the AS trip. Thank you. Good idea. I also signed up for the ASCCC licensing training in July.
Oh,
so that's really where I want to start off, because everybody has an opinion and argument of what licensing can and look like and everything. So maybe you can guide us a little bit more on what would be, in layman terms, best way to look at licensing and how to go about it.
Yeah, I mean, that's loaded. I can do my best to kind of outline it for you, because I think people get really confused with copyright, particularly because of how we've operated with the Teach Act in like the educational setting. So there's like a really simple way of understanding it, but it takes a while to get used to the function of Creative Commons. So I love that you're doing the licensing thing. I wanted to do it too, but I haven't been able to like push myself over the hill to sign up. But yeah, that one is going to give you more of the open mentality, which is the direction we're all going. So like right now you're doing your OER project and you have to know the copyright licensing for this particular project. But really the movement is toward open thinking, which includes like everything is open, access to information is open, collaboration with students is imminent, like all of this stuff is going to, you know, it's going to be more complex as we move toward open, but I think people are afraid of that idea. So they're slow growing that. So you're going to get some of that in that program, and then you'll be the guru doing all the copyright stuff. But I do have like this little PowerPoint that I'll share with you guys. Usually when people ask me questions about copyright, this is what I go to. So really, and actually, let me ask you this first. So how much training have the rest of you? I mean, I know where Dave's at, but what training have the rest of you had on OER specifically, on what it is?
Yeah, go ahead, Ellen.
I put together an OER. Well, I didn't put it together, but I kind of collected OER resources from stuff that was on LibreText for my argumentation class. And as part of that, and kind of a small grant that we had on our college, I also did the ASCCC online. I think it was ASCCC online. Kind of, they have like about 5 or 6 modules where you kind of learn the basics.
Yeah, they have an OER basics Canvas course.
Yeah, so I've done that.
Okay.
Larissa, I know you're packing, but what is your experience with OER? What training have you had?
Zero. I've had zero training. I mean, I think I've done a few professional development on campus. I've gone to a couple of workshops, but I've been Guided Pathways coordinator on my campus for the last 2 years, and so that's pretty much consumed my life. So do I remember any of those OER workshops that I went to? No, I do not. So I'm like reteaching myself and relearning in the process.
Okay.
And I did a local one at Clovis that Brooke put together, which was mirroring the ASCCC, basically 5 or 6 modules, understanding accessibility and all that. And so I received a badge from Badger on that. So that's how much it was developed. So I love my badges.
Yeah. Okay. So then if you've already done some of that like LibreText, then this might be some repeat, because it's not terribly complex. Let me share this again. So when you're thinking about OER, the major difference between OER and like the traditional publishing is that you are allowed to do these 5 permissions. And you've probably seen that before, that basically it's reuse, revise, remix, redistribute, retain. And these are completely different licenses than you can do with traditional publishing, because what you can do in your persuasion book is you can actually quote from other authors like you would in a normal essay or whatever through MLA structure, APA structure, whatever it is. But that's not the same as OER. OER, you can like, it's almost like permission to plagiarize. Like you can, it's just not plagiarism. You're just taking that work. People are open to sharing it. So the way that you know you have OER is what you can do with it. And I'm sure you've seen these stickers. These are the 4 stickers of Creative Commons copyright, and they can be mixed and matched depending on what you want for your work. So when you're done with this persuasion project, you all will have to assign your own license to it. And some of your license will be dictated by the kind of material that you decide to pull from as well. So like if somebody has this second one, the share alike moniker or whatever it is, you will have to share your work with that same license. And it goes on a scale of things that are OER to not OER, as far as your ability to manipulate and maneuver with this, with the material that's out there. So public domain is your best bet, like the most wonderful thing, but that is not technically OER because the author hasn't given you the license to manipulate it. It just doesn't have a copyright anymore. So works like Frankenstein, I believe is is in a public domain, which is different from a publisher having a copyright on the way that Frankenstein is put together. So Frankenstein's text is public domain, but like a major HarperCollins or whatever can have a copyright on the way that it's formatted, which complicates copyright a little bit. But you can find a lot of stuff in public domain, like .govs are public domain, maps are public domain. So depending on what you're going to use for persuasion, you might be able to find some like good data or stats from the government that you can use without having to worry about copyright. And then the first Creative Commons is this, we call it CC BY, and this CC just stands for Creative Commons. And then these stickers, again, have their own meaning as well. So CC BY for persuasion, like this is your golden ticket. If you can get anything that has this license on it, it's the most free. You can do whatever you want with it, basically, as long as you say, well, I got this particular text from Dave Moss from his work on blah, blah, blah. As long as you cite back to the author, you can turn it purple, you can change the words, you can keep it exactly as it is, like you can do anything. The only difference between this one and this one is the share alikes, which means you have to keep yours CC BY as well when you send it out. So you can't suddenly decide I'm going to do this like commercial action or whatever. It's got to be CC BY as well. This one is you can do whatever you want with it as long as you don't charge money for your finished product. And then this one again is don't charge money for your finished product, and you have to apply the same copyright as well. So these 4 are the only OER specific. The ones that have these equal signs means you're free to use it, but you can't change it at all. It has to be in its same format. So for instance, sometimes there's like an entire essay that you can put into your own created anthology, and you might be free to use it as long as you give credit to the original author, but you're not allowed to put anything in the middle. You can't change the text. It has to be presented in the same way that it was in its original form, which is why it's not OER, because you can't reuse, well, you can reuse, but you can't revise it or remix.
I have a
So
question on that.
Mhm.
So it's why is it considered not OER? Because one of the examples that I found that I really love for original content, getting credit, I found that it was in fact, it had an OER stamp, but it was a non-derivative.
Mhm.
So let's say I make this book, but it's one page of this book that's non-derivative. Is that still okay? Or are we just frowning upon it because we just don't want that in the creative idea of open thinking?
I mean, you have more restriction with that. You could still put it in your documentation, but because it's no derivative, you'd have to put the whole thing in. So
Right.
you wouldn't be able to just take the one page and put it in. I wouldn't say we're frowning on it because it's still free access for the student. So you're kind of, you can't kill the whole bird. You're just kind of disabling one of the, like one wing, basically, by allowing them to still get it for free, and you can use it semester after semester. You just can't change it, which is the hindrance. And with OER, it's not considered OER unless you can fully manipulate it. You need to be able to remix, edit, change it, do all those things. And if the author is saying, okay, I don't want you to change anything that I wrote here, then they're not really buying into the OER mentality. They're just buying into the open side.
I'm going to show you my example later and see if you can help me maybe find another that's not part of that derivative, non-derivative part.
Yeah. This one is the most restrictive of all of them. It's the closest to traditional copyright because you can't charge money. Technically, you could charge money for this, which would be so anti-OER. I don't even know why you're doing this. So I don't know why they make that distinction, but some people are like, I just want my work out the way it is. Don't mess with it, but you can use it. I have another example here of like what you can do, which I can share this PowerPoint with you guys later. But again, it just kind of goes through what you can do and what you can't do according to these different signs. But this is all you're going to see. And if you know these 4 like licenses well, you're going to be fine when you're out looking for the OER. The rest of this PowerPoint is about citing it because it's different than MLA and APA. So I can go over that too if you'd like me to, like the attributions and how they're different.
That would be wonderful.
Okay. I get the most, after copyright, I get the most questions about how to do attributions. So I think educators get confused, particularly because we're so used to doing like the MLA structure where you have like all of this stuff out. But what you have to remember for OER is that you're not really citing somebody else's work, you're borrowing from it. And there's a real difference between that. So this is the acronym that you're supposed to remember for when you're doing attribution. So it's called TASL. And each one stands obviously for something that you have to put into your attribution. So for every OER work that you copy from, you need a title, you need the author, the like who to give credit to. You need the source, which is like a link back to the original document. And then you need a link to the license that is applied to it. So if it has like a share alike, CC by share alike, then that you would need a link to that. And that seems kind of complicated. It's not terribly, this is a good example of it. So this is Open Attribution Builder. It was by Open Washington. And then the original work is licensed under CC by 4.0. The way to make this very easy is to use the resources that are out there for you. And the one that I like the best is this Attribution Builder. I'll pop it in your chat. Oh, you use the Attribution Builder. So you guys can click on that one. And this one makes it really easy. So I'm gonna go to Merlot real quick and I'm gonna do this with you. Unless, I mean, if this is stuff you guys know, then that's fine.
I love the Washington one. It was really easy for me and helped me actually with the non-derivative one so I could give it proper licensing.
Mhm. This one, I'm just doing a regular search that I have. So if I were to, let's say, find, just do this one. Oh, it looks like this is, I'm just going to click around until I find something. Why is this doing this? That was very circular. This is an open access textbook, CC BY. Where's the link for it? Am I missing it? Logged in to view this item. Merlot is changing. There we go. Okay, so like for instance, if I wanted to do something with this, so it looks like these are the original authors. So I can put that in, or I would even just do the first author into the open attribution just for the sake of what we're doing here. And then the content title would be just plain English composition. So I'm going to copy that and put that in the attribution. And I'm going to copy the URL for this. And then if there's an organization involved in it, you can put it in, but with the tassel, you don't actually have to do that. So what I'm going to look for now is just the licensing. So it's a CC BY. So I'm going up here to CC BY. And what it gives me is this attribution right here. And this is all I have to put into the, like at the bottom of your, whatever you're doing, if it's in LibreText or whatever, it's basically like a footnote. But that's all you need to do. And it's very different than like MLA APA citations, because you don't need all of the formality. You just want them to be able to know who it's by. This is your CC BY requirement. You want to know what the license is to see if you can grab it yourself. And then a link back to the original work so that they can see what was there before you started manipulating it or how it changed with your documentation.
On the different licenses like CC BY, it says 4.0. Can we expect to see those later versions just kind of pop up every once in a while? In 2 or 3 years, it'll be a CC BY 5.0 and a
I'm sure.
few years. I mean, is that sort of the way it works?
Yeah. And, I don't know enough about the differences with these to give you a good straight answer of how they're going to change. But typically everything that I've seen right now is the 4.0. It's like they're up to date as they're getting applied and the stuff is getting produced. Otherwise it will say, like how we were looking right here, it'll say if the license is something different, like it'll say attribution 4.0 right here. So typically when you see the sticker, it's going to say something there for it.
So Carrie, can you cut and paste that once you're done with the attribution?
Yeah, it doesn't love it when you copy it into, like if I were to copy it here on this PowerPoint, it's like it copied all of the highlighting to it. So I have to like go in and change the shading and stuff like that. But it's, you can still copy and paste. I don't know why they haven't made like a good, copy this to my clipboard or something like that. That seems silly to me, but I don't make the thing. So this is kind of a 1990s-esque data system. So
Yeah, I know the citation generators have that too. You can go it in. Yeah.
So anyway, I feel like that's the easiest way to do tassel. There's there's other things like this one, this example, like this is the straightforward example, right? But then there's other ways to talk about it. Like if it's a derivative of something, you can write in the derivative there. But the way that I've seen it typically is just with that simple attribution, because it starts getting complex with this. And so maybe, Nathan, when you go to the special certification thing, they'll give you some good reasoning behind it and how to do attributions differently. This is just like the base knowledge of it that I have. So, and then this is a typical way that they will put in those attributions. It's somewhere at the bottom of your page or your module. It'll say attributions, and then materials on this page were adapted from these original sources, instead of doing it like this, where it's saying, here's the derivative of the work, blah, 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 for every single one. They just kind of say, okay, these were adapted and here's like the original licenses of them. So you can go look at the original work. So, and that's it. And then the rest of these are just like from the ASCCC, like this one just goes into how to do the tassel basically, but it's all the same information that I just gave you. It's like not complex. That's the thing. It's just, you have to know what you're doing when you're doing it. Any questions about that?
That's why citations though are too, when you start learning, there's like all these rules you got to follow and you're like, oh, I'll never remember this. And then you just keep doing it. And then pretty soon you do it without even thinking about it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. And they make it easy now. Like, have you guys been on Merlot before? I'm assuming you have. Not yet, Larissa. This is like one of the, I call it like the Google for OER.
Okay.
It's just, you can search pretty much anything, and it's a repository that pulls from a bunch of different repositories, including Google, and people can submit their work. So when you're done with Persuasion, you could actually put it on here for other people to find. Since you guys are working with a state grant, right?
We're going to try. We got denied the first one, the number 4, but I do hear that there's another one coming.
Okay.
So I don't know if you've heard that, but my OER liaison keeps telling me, yeah, there's another one coming. So
the money is kind of trapped at the state right now. So
oh, really?
yeah, they don't have this is a total tangent. So there's
Well, no, it's good to
$115
know.
million that is just sitting there waiting for us to get our hands on it. And it's just sitting there. So that may be part of that cycle.
Is that into addition to the surpluses that are getting assigned to community colleges by the new budget? Or is that a separate $150 million?
No, that should be the same, because the
Okay.
chancellor's office hasn't really given us any direction about how that money is going to come to our institutions yet. And so originally it was like, well, you can get access to this money if you meet these requirements, but then they didn't come out with the requirements. And so we're just kind of sitting on it, like waiting for that. It was supposed to come out in January. So we don't even know who qualifies, what will it go toward? Like we have no idea yet.
Okay, so right now we're doing this as a hobby. That's fine.
But you can still submit this, and like there's
Right.
this Merlot is like that. So what I like about Merlot too, so if we're looking at communications, there's a couple of different ways to search Merlot. You can search it for like different textbooks that you can use to kind of adopt into Persuasion, or you can look at like if you have something really more specific, right? So like interpersonal communication instead, you can search that. And then that's kind of a good way to use Merlot because of the specific information that you can pull out and use, as opposed to searching it for a textbook. There's another site that's better for textbooks. But what I like about Merlot is that it gives you some filtering options, but it's really explicit right here with like when this was last updated, which was like, looks like really recently. So you're not working with very old material. And then it also gives you like the license right here, so you know what you're working with. If for some reason there's no license here, it probably means it is open, but not Creative Commons licensed. So like a lot of times there will be free educational websites where you can go on there and their stuff is readily available for you to use. However, because it doesn't have a license like this applied, you can't actually pull that information into your OER book. You have to link out to it. It would be the same for like Canvas as well. You can't pull it into your course shell. You have to link out to it because you'd be violating the copyright by having them look at it in your material versus on that website, because that's how they get their money, even if that stuff is free. That's their operations. Does that make sense? So if there's no license here, then it's probably that it's not Creative Commons, but you'll find a lot of free stuff in here as well. And most of the time when you go to the site, like this looks like a ton of chapters, it should have like the copyright information on it. But it looks like it's not in here. So it might be on each individual page. It's the investigative work of OER. When in doubt, don't use it. Looks like they have.
Yeah, it's right there.
So, I mean, they're doing tassel essentially, but they did it wrong. So shame. Just kidding. Anyway, so you could use this. CC by SAs. You just have to apply the same CC by SA for your work. So.
If I may ask a question about attributions, please.
Mhm.
So as we're working on the Persuasion OER textbook, obviously any the materials that we pull into the various chapters and sections, we need to attribute those. When I'm putting together my Canvas shell, say for my argumentation class, and there's already an argumentation OER textbook out there, and all I'm doing is linking to one of the sections, say in LibreText in my Canvas shell. Am I supposed to put an attribution there in Canvas that the students can see also? Or is the attribution mainly just like at the level of our compiling our textbook?
Yeah, you would do it at the level of compiling, because the copyright attribution is for the sake of your production beyond that. So what I would say is if you're going to pull it in completely into your Canvas, it's probably just a good idea to do the attribution anyway, because then you're giving credit to the original authors. But you don't have to go through everything and make sure that you've attributed all the different sources. It's just, I pulled this from here if you want to look at the rest of the material. It's kind of like the same courtesy as the MLA. It's just, you could actually do a normal citation in that instance, because if you're not changing the work at all, you don't have to worry about that. It's only for your sake as an author, collaborator, potentially changing the work or changing the title of the work because you're adding more things to it. That is what this OER stuff is about.
Okay, thanks.
Hi, Carrie, really quick, can you go back to what you were saying before about if going back to that interpersonal text, like if they're quoting something that's CC by, we should make sure that we're using CC by or something like that. Like, I just want to make sure I got that information correct.
Yeah, so that has to do with this license right here, this share alike. If you see something with this little arrow circle thingy, then that just means that you need to apply to your work the same license. The share alike just means you're going to do it the same way. So it's their way of controlling the way that their information gets out. So if they have a CC by share alike, and then you suddenly decide, well, I'm going to, charge a bunch of money for this, and do my own thing and make it commercial, because you technically could do that as long as you cite it. They're like, well, I don't want somebody earning money off of the thing that I just created. So I'm going to put the share alike stamp on it so that they also have to stay within the bounds of the CC BY, let anyone use it kind of thing.
That's super helpful and insightful. Thank you.
Oh, good. Yeah. So Merlot is a good way of looking at that and breaking up things if you need something specific. And then the other one, have you guys been on Cool for Ed at all? This one is my favorite, and it's supported by the UCs, CSUs, and CCCs. Did I get them all? All of the California institutions. This one is kind of funneled in here, and it's specifically for students in our demographic, because like Merlot is, you can get, well, this is Cool for Ed. Where was Merlot? Anyway, Merlot is like K through higher ed and beyond. So you have to kind of narrow down by your demographic, but Cool for Ed is what our institutions are focusing and funneling all of their information. And the reason why I like this one so much is because of this course material showcase. And in the course material showcase, you can actually select your discipline, so where's COM? And then what they're doing is slowly compiling all of the textbooks for these different classes according to the CID. And your numbering might be a little bit different at your institutions, but generally, like, you'll have a public speaking, right? And so you can click on that one, and then it tells you which texts are being used at different institutions for the purpose of that particular class. So what is this for us, Dave? Like COM 100? Yeah. So
Yeah, COM 100.
Okay, so if you were like interested in finding, and Dave's already done this, so, but if there's a COM 100 at your institution and you're wanting to teach for that, you could come here and see, okay, well, here's a license, this is fairly typical for this. It's used by all of these other institutions. I love that they started doing this, the accessibility evaluation. And so they're kind of vetting it as far as that. And then they try to get one faculty from each type of institution to talk about how it fits their CID or their course outline of record. So it gives a meaty review, basically. And then this is the Merlot rating, but everything's connected in the OER world. So if you wanted to look at it this way, you technically could write persuasion based on what I know it's a different class, but you could write persuasion based on what other institutions are using, depending on if there's one created already. So, or there might be a chapter in here that would be applicable to your students, maybe with like scaffolded information, or one of the chapters in maybe Boundless has the kind of filler information that you feel like you need, just in case you want like a sidebar or something for your materials. So I like to use it for kind of pushing people forward initially. And honestly, if what you're using for persuasion, you want to get it out to the rest of the institutions across the state, you need to submit it to Cool for Ed, because this is where basically all of the OER liaisons are funneling people. So
first time I've heard about this, and you answered my second question of how do I Google for OERs? So you just did that.
let me show you the trick with Google. Actually,
Okay.
There's a couple of different things.
So I found a few that way, but I think I was in Google Scholar at one point for it too. I don't know.
Google Scholar is not going to help you terribly with this. You'll find some good open journal articles, but they are going to be like the no derivative. You just need to pack it in like this.
Well, I use them more for referencing than attribution.
Okay. And that works fine. It's just then you're limited to like the 10% of the work for only one semester, and like, or you have to just get the portion like quotes versus like using more information from them. This isn't which I'm sorry, which course is Persuasion for? Is it on this list?
It would be COM 190 right there at the end.
Oh, introduction. Oh, I see. Yeah, so 0 materials. So if you get through this particular one, you could put it in the Cool for Ed, and then you would basically be that first institution saying, this is what we put together for this particular course.
Yeah, that was kind of the point. There was nothing out there.
Yep.
Well, and this is confirming that. So
So
congratulations, you are now the gurus of that particular field, the field
Yeah.
of your field. So yeah, Merlot. So did you notice like sorry, where was I? When I selected that particular, what was it, Boundless? So Cool for Ed is just a repository, right? So just meaning everything is collected there. So when I clicked on that, it took me out to Merlot because everything somehow goes back to Merlot. It's where everything is basically. But that's just because that's where the link drives us. But Cool for Ed, again, is just like a good starting place. And what's also good is like you can use the faculty showcase. You can find other like-minded instructors that might be in here trying to demonstrate their stuff, or like that's what this community thing is about. You can, you're probably all part of the communications listserv, or like, I think you have a Facebook too, right?
we are. The Facebook is informative for a lot of things, but our listserv for OER is a little lacking at the moment. I tried to sign up for both, and I really haven't been given permissions yet.
Okay, it could be that the statewide person is transitioning or something like that. I don't know, but
She was from Golden West, and I think she just didn't know which one to use because, of course, us communication majors decided to make 10 different places to find stuff. So,
I mean, I was a comm major too, by the way. So
yeah, so you know what I'm talking about. It was like, oh, we need to make sure there's 10 links to 10 different ways, right?
Yeah. So anyway, this is just a good place to explore, like find colleagues in your discipline. There's all sorts of stuff. And then you can even look at course materials, and it's going to take you to Merlot. I'm just saying, so sometimes Merlot is easier. And then when you're searching Merlot, because there's so much on there, I would just say, like, go in there, and this is the librarian in me speaking, go in there with a search strategy in mind, as far as don't do the textbooks, because you can get the textbooks from this. You already know there's not a good textbook for what you're doing. So when you're in Merlot, do it for something specific. What aspect are you teaching of interpersonal communication? And then go directly to that and see what's out there first, go specific, and then broaden your search out, just because there's so much here.
Carrie, I had a question on the Cool for Ed. I'm just going back a little bit.
Mhm.
I noticed on the evaluations, did they use a rubric on evaluating like accessibility and some of those areas? Because I think that's a really good idea that we have some criteria to evaluate our own OER as we put it together.
Yeah, and actually, it's probably on the ASCCC website, but they went through this whole project where they came up with a rubric from various faculty across the state for that particular purpose. But you can see it even, let's look.
Yeah, right there.
So this is their rubric, and then they just fill it out for each one of the documents. So you can borrow from here. And I'm thinking on the website, there's probably, you guys are familiar with the ASCCC OERI website? So I think it's on there too.
Yeah, I just put a link in because it seems like Cool for Ed, while I like it, the ASCCC link I put in actually has more OERs than that does, at the moment at least.
Yeah, this one is probably more up to date.
Okay.
at this point.
But you're saying
Because-
like librarians want Cool for Ed to kind of be that centralized space where we all go, so we have that documentation. Is that what you're saying, Carrie?
Not just librarians love organized information, but not just librarians. It's like, this is what all of the institutions have created in order for there to be one spot. So it trickles down from the, like, so with the RFPs that you want to get into for the OERI, so the state funds those programs, they come up with their materials, and then it all gets edited and put onto Cool for Ed.
Awesome.
And that's the way that they push it out, as well as this. And typically there's like a Canvas Commons option as well that somehow gets funneled. It's like they put it in all these different places, but this Cool for Ed is the place where they want it to eventually end up, so that there's an easy place to look for materials based on CID.
Perfect.
Yeah, so on this site, there should be accessibility resources. I might have to look through it. Advocacy, curriculum. Yeah, it's somewhere in here, but there is a rubric, Dave, for this kind of thing. And it looks just like this, but it's plain. Oh, wait. Detailed accessibility reports, that's not it. This kind of tells you where it came from. But you could use something like this to determine it. I think it would be really involved for you to do that. You certainly could, but you might want to have somebody else that is like really well versed in accessibility. If you're not, go through it just because of the timing involved in it. But I mean, we're only a quarter of the way in. It's a lot. I don't like the detailed stuff. So for me, I'd be like, oh my gosh, somebody else, can I pay you to do this for me, please? It's important.
Well, I'm assuming that if you work like on Canvas or some kind of LMS system,
Mhm.
you're probably familiar with some of the stuff, right?
Mhm.
Like
Yeah,
it's not
I
super
mean,
different.
It's not. And because it's just like, if you do a PDF, your PDFs are not typically accessible, right? And so they're just trying to, sorry. Somebody's calling me. They're just trying to make it like easier for you to look at, but they want because PDFs aren't accessible and a lot of people try to make their documents into PDF, so it's easier to link out. They can't have that. So they want to make anything that's online available to the students. And like the kinds of things that you're going to put out, like LibreText, Canvas, or Pressbooks, they all have built-in accessibility checkers. So you should be okay just doing that. This is for like the double checking to make sure if it is not in one of those things, and those aren't foolproof. So it'll be like like color and contrast. Those checkers don't necessarily look at color and contrast. I can't remember if they do. I don't think they do in Canvas, but there's websites too that you can submit your document into, and then it'll tell you exactly where your problems are. Images are caught by those checkers. Anyway, I'll try to find this, Dave, the basic one, so that you guys can have a different option. Do you want me to show you how to find it in Google?
No, I think one, Merlot and Cool for Ed was kind of more of my question of like, is there a place I can go to search it directly? Because Google's going to give me something, but I feel like this is much more in depth of what I'm looking for, especially because in Persuasion, especially with attitudes and behaviors within persuasion, that's much more psychological than it is communication.
Mhm.
So I'm able to search more specifically in Merlot, I feel.
Yeah, you will. And like I would go, if it is psychological, go outside of the normal communications kind of field and look on that side, because there's probably portions of chapters that you can pull from a psychology text to get into
Oh,
it.
I did. I
Yeah,
absolutely
you
did.
probably already know this. With Google, let me see, I think my computer is cutting this off, but there's in the settings, sorry, hold on. I have too many things on my screen. There is an advanced search. Is this how you do it, Nathan?
No.
Okay, so here's the trick. If you're going to look for OER on Google, you can type in anything here, but your real helper right here is usage rights. So it's the same Creative Commons usage rights here. So
That's glorious.
yeah, it makes it a lot easier than searching the 4 billion mommy blogs. Like this will be different. So free to use, share, modify, that's OER. User share, that's OER, no derivatives. You don't want not filtered by license. Free to share, even commercially, is, those are gonna probably be the most OER. This is probably like, no, this one, modify, even commercially, this is like CC BY. So let's go up here and type in. That's really the only thing that you need to do is change this usage right. And then everything that comes up will have that particular option. This one's open. See right here, CC BY. The sticker is there for you. So it's just another way of doing it. It's probably going to take you through the same stuff that Merlot has. Interpersonal communication. Pressbooks is open content. So let's go down to the bottom. Should be on the bottom. Yep. CC BY 4.0 license. So I always just double check with Google because Google isn't a librarian. So
That was great. That's awesome.
that's the easiest way. Most people don't know that that advanced searching in Google is like, Google, like that they have librarians behind their database creation. So
Really?
yeah, there's all sorts of like advanced searching and things like that you can do. And typically the same search query boundaries that you have for Google are the same in databases that we use in the library. It's just people don't know it. So Google has been like curating the way that it does its search algorithms forever. But that's why you get 4 billion results.
Can you type in persuasion, Carrie? I just want to see what comes
Yeah.
up.
Mhm.
That's a great idea, David.
Wait, let me make sure. I don't know if I can change that's not letting me do it. So, sorry, hold on. I don't know how to get back to it.
Yeah, of course, Wikipedia.
Lumen Learning.
Oh, yeah.
Definitely
Yeah.
looks like it's the more psychological process.
It's that introduction to
rhetorical.
psychology. Yeah. Yeah.
Social psychology.
And I'm pretty sure I may have used that.
Yeah, this is wikis. They're not all Wikipedia, but they are like wikis, might have some good info. Open text. This is also psychology. I wonder if you type in.
Oh, persuasion theory.
Hmm?
Oh, I just saw some on persuasion theory.
Oh, sorry.
That's all right. And go back.
Anyway. Don't be afraid to use synonyms too with this stuff. I feel like you know this already, but like. Where was it, Dave? Did I miss one?
Oh, right there.
This one?
Yep.
Is this one? An open educational persuasion theory in action.
From University of Anchorage.
Undergraduate persuasion courses.
Holy crap.
Is this what you need?
Yeah, I mean, just the fact that there's something out there is amazing.
There you go. There's the link.
And it looks like we never would have found it without Google, which I don't, it didn't
Yeah,
pop up.
right?
That's interesting.
Your licensing.
Oh, and I like how there's a, look at this. Look, if you could go back up, down, I don't know how you scroll, Carrie, but all the way on the definition. Did you see that it's a social justice perspective?
No, I didn't see
persuasion.
that.
Yeah, if you go down to the source citation, look at that. A distinctive social justice aligned definition. Oh, it's about open education. Never mind, I take it back. I thought it was about persuasion. I misread.
Theoretical frameworks.
Beautiful. Carrie, that was the most amazing thing I've ever seen in my life. I just didn't know that setting existed on
That's
Google.
new to me too. I didn't know that either.
I mean, I had a great librarian at Cal State Long Beach that showed me how to use that database to a T, and it was awesome. And I also know that it linked my Google search to the database when I had that email, but that was the extent. I didn't know I could manipulate it, Google to do that for me as well.
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, actually, you can, I mean, I'm going to geek out on this, but there's like 10 different ways that you can search Google differently using like algorithms and search queries. So like even quotes matter with Google, and people don't really know that.
So I'm just going to have you come to my class at Clovis and give a whole tutorial to my students. That's what's going to happen. Because that's what I want. Because I tell them to use the database, but we're also, quite honestly, we're still a new, like we became a college in 2015. So our database is not extensive, right? And students always complain I can't find things. And I'm sure it's not all the database, it's a lot of students, but at the same time, if I could use Google as leverage for the student to find something more credible, I'm all about that.
Google Scholar is great too. I use that a fair amount. One is doing my research and everything. This is great.
The problem is like the libraries have limited funds for databases. So they try to get the students exactly what they need, but they're not going to be able to get everything.
Right.
But they probably are not searching the databases appropriately, because if they search the databases like they do Google, they won't find what they want. And there's some like tips and tricks for them, things that I teach them to use, like controlled vocabulary. And a lot of faculty don't even know about it's like using tags to do your searching. And a lot of faculty don't know about that. But
I literally just watched an Instagram reel about that, and I was like mind blown. Like with the pluses or the like quotation marks, like you said, I was just like, what have I been doing all my life? Like, hello.
So students will say like, again, I didn't find anything in the databases. The databases don't have anything. And if they're like, the databases are super robust. And if they type in like, what's the population of Chicago, then those databases are looking for what's the population, like they're looking for everything. So curating that search strategy is everything. And Google will go with the same boundaries that those databases do. It's just people don't know that you can search Google differently. So they've tried to make it so that it's easy to search, but you would actually get better results if you use special terms, even in Google Scholar and stuff. So yeah. We could do another hour on
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
on search strategies.
Does anybody else have a question on anything else? So what I would like to do, just one more moment of your time, Carrie. You've already just done great things for me and gave me hope for Google.
Okay.
But what I would love to do is kind of put what you talked about in the PowerPoint maybe to some practice. And I have all my pages done in my Canvas module for my OER grant. So it's all done. I'm going through edits right now, but what I would love to do is show 3 pages that kind of hit on the points that you're talking about. And you can criticize them all you want. I don't care. I love it. But maybe show them and just get your perspective of telling us what you just talked about, and then applying it to kind of the example. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we can see it tangibly. That would be great.
That's good adult learning theory for you right there.
I need examples. Okay.
A live application, that's like number 7 on the.
My next step is to do some neurodiverse certification. That's the big one that I'm into as well.
Cool. Yeah.
Okay, so y'all can see my screen, right?
Mhm.
Okay, so this is what I did. I have chapter 1 here with 4 parts, and I have chapter 2 here with 4 parts.
Okay.
So that was the extent of my grant and what I said I was going to do. So the first one is basically something that I found in my public speaking book that I translated to Persuasion, because I love the way it gives us context about what we should be mindful of in class as far as communication. Okay. So 1, accessibility. I have estimated reading times up at the top.
Awesome.
And my lovely partner of life was one of my reviewers, my wife. And so she made all these pretty boxes because I don't know how to do HTML that well. And this basically breaks down in constitutive. Key takeaway with that, it talks about contextual. Communication is constitutive, contextual, and then cultural. It talks about the idea of reflexivity and stuff. So this is a good starting point wherever I go. I've made none of this other than I've changed, like, for example, here at the end, as persuasive scholars, these components are guides that said as public speakers. So I remixed it and remade it to just be in the context of being persuasive reading, correct? And then I just gave them their licensing and reference and media attributions based on everything. And that's the only thing I changed, was just making it persuasive in nature and some other grammatical edits that needed to happen.
Yeah, your attributions look good. I mean, you could even shorten that Creative Commons attribution, non-commercial share, like that one's really long, but you're allowed to say CC by.
Well, what I did is I just basically used theirs and put it into mine, right? And I know that I could update it and with the Washington one and make it more concise. And then I know also that I could just do a drop down for it, like we saw earlier in the below, where you clicked on it and it dropped down to give us the information as well.
So let me ask you, is this license right here your license, or is it the license for that material?
That's what I need to change. I gave it just their license, because at first I shared just exactly alike, but then my editor said, no, you should make this yours. This is my learning moment at the end, was like, no, you can remix it, because I thought share alike meant I can't do anything. So I just copied and pasted it and used it. Like, no, we can totally redo it. And so now I have to make a new one that will give them the credit and everything that is the updated version.
Okay.
So I know that was my liaison told me I needed to do that.
Okay. Yeah.
And this isn't being,
otherwise.
it wasn't being shared. So does that make sense as far as earlier we were talking about what we can and cannot do with a license. This is a, CC BY, non-commercial, share alike, but I did change the context of like persuasives, being a persuasion class rather than a public speaking class.
Totally fine, as long as it doesn't have that little equal sign. you're fine.
Yes.
You can change
Yes.
it.
So next up, in definitions of persuasion, here, what I did is I pulled from a different, so this is, now that we found that text, we can change it, but this I wrote all myself. Okay, I pulled from all the textbooks I have, and it's about 1,100 words, and I got it all organized, and I used all my references down here, the few places that I pulled from, and then I created a license just CC BY because I want it to be able to use as openly as possible.
Okay. Yeah, as long as there's no, as long as you didn't grab anything from them and you're still within the confines of like appropriate quote usage for essays.
Yeah,
then
just,
fine.
I know it's been a long time since I've done grad work, but as you can see here, the in-text citation is here with the summation of what they're talking about and everything. And again, this was vetted by my liaison too, so she went in depth with it as well.
Yeah, then that should be fine.
Okay, and then final, so this is the one that I really wish I could keep, but because it's non-derivative, I know I might not be able to. So this is about giving credit where credit is due. So there was this whole online movement in TikTok about, white influencers taking Black choreographers' dances and using them to make money. And it's this whole movement about giving people their due and stuff. So I used it exactly the same, and it's on a website. So this is all a website. I need to do a little editing and all that. This was the original creator of the dance. And it talks about how there's this movement to do that. So at the end of this, I think I missed the attribution on the GIFs here, but so I gave the title, the author, and who it was done by, and it's licensed under this.
Totally fine. You can literally duplicate a page as long as that information is there. So
cool. But if you were my liaison, you'd say maybe we could find something else because it's non-derivative, correct?
Not necessarily. I'm fine with using non-derivatives because you're still meeting the same requirements. It's just don't add any words to it.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
and I didn't really need
the material is exactly the same.
Yeah, the reading itself is really meant for my students to come into the classroom with the reading, so the conversation can be more robust. Like I really just want them to have context, so I don't have to show them everything, all the videos and everything.
Yeah. So that should be fine.
So I felt like that was 3 different examples in kind of the context of what we were talking about to, see if we're on the right track.
I think you are.
Excellent. Thank you.
Yeah. It looks good. I'm excited to see what you guys do with this project. It's a project.
It is. It is.
So, just so you know, if you need some more support down the road, just let me know. If you're having trouble finding stuff or whatever, then.
Thank you, Carrie. And thank you so much for your time again over summer, hanging out with us.
And I should mention that Carrie's, we have our academy coming up, which is a whole plethora of different workshops that we have for faculty and staff and everything. And we're having a major workshop for OER coming up, right, Carrie?
Yeah, it's in October now. So
October?
Yay,
Oh, they moved
back.
it. Oh, that's right. I forgot.
Yeah, so I'm happy, but it'll be a big project. But yeah, OER, it's good. It's like infiltrating here. So I like vocabulary.
Yes.
Anyway, yeah. Well, just let me know if there's anything else that I can do for you guys. I know it'll take a little bit of time to get into it, and then
No, thank you so much for being a resource for us. It's very kind of you. I appreciate it so much.
Yeah. I hope you get your stipend.
Yeah, I hope so too. Because, I just, I want it to be free to students, but we are giving time. So, I just want to make sure we stay with our value as educators.
I agree. Here's my email in the
Thank
chat
you.
in case you want to contact me for anything. I mean, I'm sure your liaison will have a lot of information for you at any of your institutions. But I've been in it for a while. So if I don't know, which I don't know everything, right, Dave? But if I don't know, then I know people who do.
Yes, you do.
So I'll just push you on to somebody else. So, okay, well, I will let you go then unless you have another.
Thanks,
anything
Carrie.
else.
Thank
No,
you, Carrie.
Thank you so much, Carrie. Have a great day.
Appreciate you. Thank you.
See you later.
David, thank you so much again for putting that together. I appreciate it. It was great to have a different perspective. Yeah, Google thing alone
Yeah,
threw my world upside down.
I didn't know
That's all I
about
needed.
that. It's like, I love Google. I use it, it's like something else you can use,
So real quick, I am in the process of slowly transitioning all that you saw on that canvas into our ClickUp collaboration area. So that's going to be there. So David, if you want to use any of it, of course, you can use whatever you want. But it gives us a head start on those first 2 chapters, and maybe not such an overwhelming feeling that we have a table of contents, but absolutely no content, right? And so I am not beholden to anything staying there or whatever. Like, you want to get rid of it all, get rid of it all. Like, I wanted to put something down, so we got a kind of a sense of a rolling rock down the hill doesn't carry, doesn't get moss, or whatever that saying is. I don't know, but so I'm slowly transitioning in there and creating all those spaces and stuff, and you should see some of it there already. And my hope is over the course of the next week or so is to get that rolling, get those spaces open, get some to-do lists going so you can all just start working. I think one of the things is we were all a little concerned of like where we start, but I think now we all understand like, hey, I'm assigned to this, I'll find some things for this and put it in that space. So I'll make sure it's all real nice and structured so we can really start just plugging in things that we really like.
Yeah, Nathan, I watched some of the tutorials for ClickUp, but I was wondering, I did have questions about where I can upload, because I do have a lot of different exercises and whatnot that I want to upload into ClickUp, but where would I put those? How do I create a folder?
I put up a folder for ancillaries, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
Yes, there is additional resources, which I think was created. Oh, okay. So, perfect. So I don't know if you did this or I did this, but there's one for ancillaries created. Yeah. And then there's slides, test banks, assignments, and exercises. Additional resources has a folder for assignments and ancillaries and persuasion assignments. So we could maybe just delete one of those and just use one. If you made the ancillary one, that one looks pretty organized to me.
I think I did that one because I was trying to figure it out, and I was just trying to figure out how to upload from my computer into there because I want to upload a bunch of stuff.
So to upload, let's say, let me see. So if I clicked on the slides folders and I want to import, it does take CSV files, but the easiest way, let me share my screen real quick.
Okay.
The easiest way I'm finding to share anything is to make, like, if I went under slides and, okay. So I want to add a document. So this is kind of our test because we can export these documents. So we'll just leave it untitled. But what I found here is that over here, the little export import. So I can import HTML with page splitting or markdown, and then exporting is something that happens more. So maybe if I do a / command, what we may need to do for this is if we may need to create a Google folder, like a Google Drive folder for actual things that are finished, and
Okay,
use this to create stuff. Right. So because it doesn't look like it takes all, it definitely, you know, puts it out for us, but importing it wouldn't happen. So I would say I'll set up a Google Drive folder for content that's already created, and we'll organize that out and
Okay.
share it. Okay.
Yeah, I was going through it and I go, how do I do that? How do I upload? 'Cause,
Yeah.
yeah, it just didn't allow me to do it.
You know, I didn't think about that. Like I said, the really good thing that I'm just liking is that it's just so simple. Like, so I have that first page that I showed you all as the example. It's all here. So it's just so easy to go in and edit as far as everything's concerned. Or we can just cancel this and all use Google Drive and have a ton of separate documents. What do you think? Do you like having a centralized place to do this all, or are you
I
just
do.
okay with?
I don't like to have to go back and forth. It would be nice to, you know, just have one centralized. I think who was it Paula who mentioned she doesn't have
She doesn't have Teams. That's why this is happening.
Teams, but I like, if we use Drive, I'm fine with that. If we can, and we can
Yeah.
even upload our own chapters and, you know, sections and everything into there.
Alan, how you feel about that?
I don't know that I have a real strong preference either way.
Okay, Larissa.
So can we or can we not? You're saying, okay, hold on. My kids just got back. Hold on.
Oh, it's all good.
Okay, so what I'm looking at here, I was trying to follow along with what you were doing. We can't import like a document. Is that what you're saying? Or do we
No,
just have
we
to
would
like copy and paste it?
I've been copying and pasting. I can
Mhm.
also put in the HTML code and it uploads. It was
Right,
just,
because that's what I'm gonna do. That's not
I know,
what I'm
right? But I think my concern with Google Drive is
Mhm.
it'd just be nice if we all had access to Workspace, because then we could organize and collaborate more. Unfortunately, we can't do that because I don't have Google Education, you know,
Mm-mm,
access.
mm-mm. This is
So
what.
it would
So
be, yeah, go ahead.
this is what's going on in my mind is if we could copy and paste our stuff into here for right now, and then maybe when it's all done, I don't know if this is practical or not, then we just copy and paste and have like one big thing in Google. Because I don't know if I want to go back and forth all the time, and I'm already on multiple platforms because I am on Teams with work, and I'm on Canvas, and I'm on Trello, which and then this,
I don't know what
and then
that is.
like it's I don't know, it's like an app that's attached to Teams. Don't get me started on it. I don't even know what I'm doing, but
Fair enough.
I'm trying all this cool stuff. So I would say like the less of all these apps that I'm navigating, the better, just because just losing things. So if we can somehow keep it all in here, I would advocate for that.
Well,
if
I'm
that's just not possible,
Yeah, I feel like,
you know,
I guess one of the reasons why I went out and found this is because I feel like that's what happens with Google Drive. We lose things. Like there's so much happening in our drives, we all of a sudden lose things, but maybe they're easier to find. I don't know. I was just really hoping to find something that was more collaborative. But I could be wrong. I could be absolutely wrong on this. So
I mean, it looks like the chapters are on the side there, right? Like if we label them chapters, blah, 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 and then we copy and paste.
right, yeah, I
That
have
should be fine.
chapter
Like,
one here.
what's the limitation? Is it hard to edit in this or add comments to each other's things? Is that what we're,
Just uploading, like uploading files and
Got
things
it.
like that that you want in. That's the problem. That was a challenge I was faced with because I've got a lot
okay.
that I want to upload into our.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
so actually doing that is a challenge. Okay,
Yeah,
I
especially
get
the
it.
ancillaries down here.
Got it.
I will
Yeah, I
say
don't
too
know.
that my editors for my OER project, everybody did things on Google Docs because it was easier to go through and leave comments and stuff. So maybe if we're having people come in and edit, it might be a thing. Expect an email from me on Monday or Tuesday if I've decided to change my mind about things based on your feedback. Okay.
Yeah, it's too bad you can't get Teams because that's a really good,
I
robust
know.
platform and
know.
everything. And it's just really.
I was so I just thought almost all the California colleges had gotten a Microsoft
Teams,
deal.
yeah. We've
Yeah.
all of our phones, our office phones are gone. That's all we use is Teams for calls.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah. We don't have any phones.
Well, I mean, Teams is one of the way that I've been able to reach out to like Tom over at Fresno City, you know, that we were talking about AB 928 stuff. And I've never met the man before in my life, but I was able to just kind of reach out real quick and say, hey, this resolution's coming at you. Let me know what's going on. And we were able to talk, you know?
Yeah, it's neat. I mean, we could have these meetings like this here too. And
Yep.
all kinds of stuff. So, but doesn't Teams, I'm just trying to think, what is that? Doesn't that come with, does it come with Office or is it just like a totally separate entity?
So Teams is part of Office 365. If a
Mhm.
college, so here's the thing, colleges give certain permissions. Like for example, at Clovis, I have access to Teams, but my students do not have access to Teams,
Right.
which
Right.
which is kind of a bummer, you know, because it would be a really easy way besides Zoom to take care of things.
At our campus, you could request to have your class on Teams because we have Canvas and come for Zoom, but you can't, like we've had some instructors request Teams as a mode and they've done it. Now, so we can't, it's not possible for her to be like a guest contributor. Is it like limited permissions?
I don't know.
Okay.
That's a good question. Let me research that.
It sounds like what we need to do is just cut out Paula and then we can all do everything on Teams.
Yeah. I mean, you know,
I'll
that makes
tell her
things
that you
easier.
said that, Alan.
Oh,
He's like,
I
I
like
missed
how
one
you-
meeting.
I'll
Remind me to not
see
miss
it.
a meeting again.
Right. Yeah. Don't miss a meeting. I'll see. I'll do my research with Teams and see what kind of. I thought that I read that if someone's a guest, the problem is that I think they just have to have their email registered. So maybe she would be using her personal email rather than her school email, and I think it would be fine. Let me look at it. You all have an email from me by Monday. If Paula will just have to, I mean, she uses, I know that, she uses Google Classroom, Google Education, which is very similar to Teams. So I don't see why it would be a huge transition for her. I know she doesn't want to use another platform, but I don't know what to tell her, because Teams, like David, are you in the team right now? Right? Because I sent that out, right? I didn't delete it, did I?
I don't see.
I was
Let me go.
I was able to. I'm in it right now.
In the Teams?
Mhm.
Let me find mine.
I don't see anything And I mean, I see the collaboration plan. That's the last thing I see.
Oh yeah, there's nothing in there.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm in it. I'm in the work group.
Yeah, I didn't do anything because Paula told us,
Right, right.
oh, I can't use that.
Yeah, I don't see anything in mind, just my local contacts and that. Direct contacts, so.
One of the things that I don't think I can do is chat with people individually besides Alan, because we're in the same district.
Oh, I see. Okay. Well, we can't
So-
post to each. Let me try. Okay, you said hello everyone right now, right?
Yes, so that was in the general comment section, yes.
Okay, so we can use that if we have to.
Ooh, there you are. Let me see if I
Mhm.
can send a chat to you. I'm gonna send you an individual chat, Larissa.
Okay, I got it.
Oh, cool.
Got it. Yeah.
I didn't think we'd be able to do that. All right.
Yeah,
I
I
don't
wonder
wanna make-
because it allows me to add a personal account. So I don't know how that works. I don't know if she has to have a registered account in order to do that, or if we can just add her. But anyway, I'm up for whatever. Like
Yeah.
just
Let's see if we can do this with Paula. I'd really like to work off Teams personally. It's just so streamlined at this point, and we can just set up whatever, whenever. Yeah. So anything else?
I guess we just get, I mean, it sounds like you all have already gotten started, but it sounds like we just get started wherever we want.
Yeah, if you put anything into the click up and we decide to change platforms, I will transition it over. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Well,
I saw that you, sorry, this
yeah.
is a question for you, Nathan. I saw that you assigned me a task. Do you want me to do that in ClickUp or to wait?
Oh no. So yeah, because you wanted to do beliefs with me, or in the chapter 1,
Yeah.
you kind of wanted to work on that. So beliefs, that in my project, I got the foundation down, but I need help with examples and constructing the case study. I found this actually really good case study about beliefs, and it's an
Okay.
open resource. It's a video about how Native American stories actually translate into actual science. And it's the idea of how the huckleberry
Yeah.
plant, the huckleberry berry, actually does something physiologically and biologically that is also told through the story. So it's this idea of persuasion coming to life through those means. And I wanted to kind of make a case study for our students to understand how beliefs can create these persuasive messages that are also bounded in some factual evidence. I
Great.
don't know. I thought it was a cool idea.
I like it. I'll just say, do you want me to wait until you transfer over? Just let me know.
Okay. No, if you want to add any ideas in there, just like, what if we do this? That's fine. And then I'll transfer it over later. So if
Okay.
you're going on vacation for the weekend, so you don't worry about it. We'll touch base next week.
So-
Okay,
Just don't
that
worry
sounds great.
So Nathan, I'm working on my Persuasion online course right now. And of course I use this super expensive book, $170 now, by Gas and Cedar,
Mhm.
the new edition. I love it. I've used it in the past, and luckily what I did, sneaky me, I found a free PDF file of last year's edition. And so, yeah, so I've got that just in case, but because I know my students are going to go, oh my gosh, that's why
Yeah.
I'm so motivated to get our OER done, because of the expense issue. But I do like their format. I don't want to, of course, infringe on what they say or anything like that, but I'm going to pull out as I'm going through. I'm going to share a lot of the theories and ideas that they have that they present but put it into my own words, my own language and doing
Yeah.
that, so I don't run into copyright issues.
But yeah, and I used Gas and Cedar's 99 reference for my definition of persuasion. You know, I really like that, the way they talked about it. So remember, we get 2 chances to use this is the one thing that I think sometimes we forget with OER, is we get 2 chances to use content. One, we can just make a huge piece of content with attribution to somebody else who's done the work, and then remix it and revamp it for persuasion, right? So that's like the easy part, right? Somebody's done this and that's awesome. We don't have to do it or create data again. 2, we can write aspects from what we like and reference it, just like we would be referencing and publishing an article to a conference, right? And that was the part that for me, I forgot about. Like, I'm just like, what do I do? So David, what it sounds like is, yeah, we can use huge content, but there's going to be parts where we just want to reference specific things at a time, and that's fine too. And I think that's the exciting part about what we're going to do, because I think what we all have in mind is a very big project that, you know, like Paula said, we can use bits and pieces. People out there can use bits and pieces of, but for us, we have created the foundation of all of this stuff that really needs to be housed together. Does that make sense at all?
Yeah, no, it does. I just, yeah, like I said, I'm going through and, you know, you know, you guys probably run into this too. You get these PowerPoint slides from the publisher, and there's like 25 or 30 slides, you know, and you're going, oh my gosh. So what I'm doing there is I'm capturing the important parts, hitting on the main parts. I'm shortening that down to under maybe 11 or a 10-minute lecture for the students.
Nice.
And I'm capturing that for the students and doing that. And of course, captioning those and everything on my lectures. So, and I don't like the color slides. They have like this chalkboard type of background with white text, and I just doesn't work for me. So, and I know what students run into if they have colorblind issues or, you know, things like that. So you got to be really, really cautious.
That's great. All right. Well, this is very productive for a summer meetup. Is there anything else? All right, then. Larissa, you have a lovely little vacation there that you're planning.
Where are you going, Larissa?
We're going to the Russian River. So
Where's
going
that?
to, I don't know, up north somewhere. Sonoma County, Geyserville, but a little bit more north. My husband's cousin got married last year, and it's like the big family reception, and they're kind of hippie-ish. So it's like a reggae music festival and wedding reception, and it's gonna be great. I can't wait.
Cool.
Yeah,
That's fun.
so
I want to get up to Napa. There's this jazz place that I'm a contemporary jazz guy, so I want to go to there's up there, and I want to go up there sometime to Napa.
absolutely, it's just so great up there right now too. So yeah, that's where we're going to be at. We're going to be in that area. So
Have fun.
excited. Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, have a good
I hope
time.
you all get away. I hope you all get a chance to get away, get some rest. And Nathan, you enjoy Michigan.
I am. We're gonna get some nice weather finally here. So
Are you
maybe
by
one more storm.
Are you by the lake at all? By the water?
Yeah. So where my dad, he lives in a town called Nobbinway, and it's about, I don't know, half a mile boat ride down the river into Lake Michigan and from the
Okay.
Upper Peninsula. So
Wow.
we're about an hour away from the actual bridge. And he just bought a little rowboat with a outboard motor. So we did a little putzing around the other day and went out there. So he's really happy. He's finally enjoying his retirement. His retirement was the first day of the pandemic shutdown.
Oh.
So he finally found the house he wanted, the place. He's on what's called Hiawatha Wilderness Preserve. It's 36,000 acres. and
Wow.
it's a membership. So it's kind of like an HOA, but it's for people who enjoy to shoot guns, fish, and all that, hunt and fish and all that. And so it's it's right up his alley, and it's just kind of perfect for him. There's a little community here of a bunch of retired people, so he's just not sitting out in the woods alone. We can't have that. So yeah,
Sounds
so it's good,
fun.
and thank you so much. And Alan, what are you up to? You doing anything right now, or you just hanging at home?
Oh, well, I've got a summer class that starts on Monday, but
Okay.
yeah,
Uh,
my wife and I are kind of sneaking out for like a couple days here, a couple days there. We were at the coast a couple weeks ago. I was up in the mountains last week. So
Nice.
nothing major, just kind of here and there.
Excellent.
I'm so glad we live in California. I know it's sometimes a
Uh-huh.
drag, especially with gas, but like you can do that, right? I'm gonna go to the
Yep.
coast.
Right.
I'm gonna go to the mountains. I'm gonna go to a river. You know, like,
Yep.
it's kinda cool. Go to wine country.
Yep.
David, are you doing anything?
Me right now, I'm hanging around my construction, my workers here. That you guys probably heard the noise. I've been trying to mute here, but I've got a kitchen being remodeled. My family room just got remodeled. My garage is being epoxied at the floor, and I'm getting my bathroom upstairs. So we did a refi, and my wife and I have been waiting to get this done, and it's finally happening. And they're about to, well, they're getting closer. They're getting close to the downstairs being done. So that's what I'm
So
doing right
jealous.
now. But I'll get away. I'll get away for 4th of July and stuff. So anyway.
Excellent.
That's great. That's awesome.
All right. Well, I'm gonna
All
go.
right.
You all have safe travels, safe journeys, and we'll talk soon. Okay.
And I'm
Sounds good.
recording this, so I'll have the MP4 on this. And so I maybe can put that somewhere.
Just-
So because I know Paula.
Upload it. Yeah, just send it to Paula and upload it to the Teams.
Got it.
Okay. All right. Y'all take care.
All right.
Okay.
Bye.
So long.
Bye.